She always believed life could change in one breath, one night, one heartbeat that forgets to beat. And when Elena Foster left her apartment on a cool October evening, she had no idea she was about to become the only person fighting for a truth the world never cared about until it became too loud to bury anymore. Because crime does not always come with sirens, sometimes it comes quietly in the footsteps of someone you trust or someone you never looked at twice, and fate always shows up without warning. Elena walked down the quiet Brooklyn street, her hands tucked in the pockets of a worn gray hoodie, the smell of rain in the air, and the city humming with the usual restless rhythm, lights flickering in apartment windows, taxis passing by, someone laughing loudly near a corner store, and the subtle ache in her chest that had followed her for years since she was a girl who learned life does not hand kindness easily. She earned strength the hard way by surviving it. She was 32 now, a social worker who listened to broken voices, everyday women whose bruises hid beneath long sleeves, children taught to stay silent, men drowning behind quiet eyes. She carried their pain like ghosts that clung to her shoulders, but she did not bend, she did not shatter, even though life had broken her more than once when her mother disappeared without explanation, and once when the world forgot to come looking. Maybe that is why, when she saw the missing poster taped to the street lamp, something inside her stopped breathing. A young woman, 23 years old, dark hair, soft eyes, a hopeful smile beneath the printed words, "Missing last seen 4 days ago, call. If you have information." People walked past, without seeing, without caring, but Elena could not. She knew what it felt like to vanish from attention, to become a story no one turned the page for. She stared at the flyer longer than she meant to wind, brushing her hair across her face, a car passing, a sudden cold shiver across her skin. And she whispered to no one, and everyone, "I won't let you become silent too." She did not know the girl, but she knew the pain. And sometimes that is enough to make you move even when you do not know where the path leads. Her apartment door creaked as she opened it, soft, warm light spilling across a small living room where books sat stacked in uneven piles and a half-written journal lay on the table. She locked the door, hung her keys, set down her phone, and sat staring at the empty space on the wall, where once her mother's photo used to hang before the pain became too sharp to look at. Every day her mother vanished. When she was 13, left behind only questions and a police report that grew colder than winter air. No leads, no calls, no body, just absence, like a wound you never stop bleeding from. Maybe that is why this mattered, she told herself. Maybe she just needed someone to get saved, because she never got that miracle for herself. She sat down, wrote the missing girl's name on a blank page, Mia Delaney, 23, last seen near Fulton Street, then paused, listening to the quiet hum of the city beyond the window, like the pulse of something bigger than she could see. Then a noise, a soft knock at the door, sudden and unexpected. Her pulse quickened. She stood listening, another knock, hesitant, careful. She opened her door slowly and found Mrs. Klein, her elderly neighbor, face tight with worry. "Elena, something is wrong. I hear crying in the apartment next door. It is late, and she won't answer me. Please check. She trusts you. You have that way. People feel safe with you." Elena nodded, grabbed her sweater, followed the trembling voice of fear down the hallway to apartment 4B. She heard it too now, faint sobbing, muffled, like someone biting back. "Pain." She knocked gently. "Mia," she whispered, without thinking, the name slipping out like instinct. But she remembered this was not Mia. This was someone else, someone here, someone now. The sobbing stopped, silence, heavy, thick. She tried again. "Hey, it's Elena from next door. Are you okay?" No answer. The hallway cold, lights buzzing faintly, her heartbeat louder in her ears. Then a lock clicked, the door opened just enough for a young woman, pale eyes, swollen face, streaked with tears, bruised wrist trembling as she held the door frame. "Please don't tell anyone," she whispered, voice fragile, like glass about to break. "You'll find out, and it will get worse." Elena inhaled, sharp memories cutting through her chest. "He who?" she asked gently, but the woman shook her head, fear swallowing her voice before she could speak. A noise from inside the apartment, footsteps, heavy, slow, approaching. The woman flinched and shut the door fast, the lock sliding back into place. Elena stepped back, pulse racing. She could hear a low voice inside, a man, anger simmering in the tone, but the walls swallowed the rest. Mrs. Klein whispered behind Elena, "We can't leave her like that, Elena. I know, but she won't talk yet." Elena whispered back, "Fear is a cage you cannot break from outside without tearing the person inside. Too, I will watch her, I promise." Elena returned to her apartment, but sleep did not come. She sat by the window, watching city lights blur, thinking of the missing girl, thinking of the crying neighbor, thinking of her mother, and how silence becomes the grave you never walk away from. Morning came, slow gray clouds hanging, and Elena made a decision, like a quiet vow in her chest. She would find Mia Delaney. The city would not outside into a world that never waits. She began at the corner store near where the flyer hung and asked questions. People shrugged, shook heads, some didn't look long enough to care. One man said he saw the girl crying 2 nights before talking to a man in a black hoodie. She seemed scared. He muttered, then hurried off like the truth might burn him if he stayed too long. Elena followed whispers, street corners, cheap motels, security camera reflections, windows, catching shadows like secrets, watching. She visited Mia's last workplace, a cafe, small, quiet, the manager, nervous eyes darting like he wanted to speak, but feared something if someone took her. Elena said, voice steady, then someone knows someone saw something. Truth leaves marks even when fear tries to scrub them away. The manager exhaled, shaking slightly. Mia was being followed for a week. He whispered, voice low. A man waited outside every shift. She told me she thought it was nothing, then she got a threatening message, and she showed me. He said she would go to police, but she never did, and she vanished 2 days later. Elena's pulse pounded so loud she could hear it in her ears. She wrote every detail, name of place, times, description of the man. She thanked him, left her chest tight, because this was real, not rumor, not imagination, a predator walking free while the world scrolled past horrors like they were only flickering pixels. Evening arrived again, wind, cold breath hanging like ghosts, and as she returned home, she passed police tape near a dumpster, lights flashing, officers speaking, low, urgent voices, a body found, woman, young, hair dark like night, her stomach dropped, breath caught, no God, no. She pushed forward, chest tight, desperate, but the officer stopped her. Ma'am, you can't be here, and she whispered, please tell me, is her name Mia? The officer looked puzzled, then shook his head, no ID yet, but not her height, older. Different hair color, but fear still shook her bones, because bodies do not lie, danger walks the city, and tonight it walked too close. She returned home trembling, knowing the world was darker than she already believed, and she believed plenty. She stood in front of her mirror, whispered to her reflection, I want stop, and for the first time her reflection did not look tired, it looked fierce, like someone who refused to lose another woman to silence. Night fell deeper this time, heavy like the city held its breath, and somewhere a phone buzzed, unknown number. She answered slowly, a voice distorted, mechanical, whispered, stop asking about her, or you will disappear. To call ended, static ringing in her ears, fear slicing through her spine, but beneath it something else, fire steady, unbroken. She whispered, try me, and the night swallowed her words, but they did not die. She did not know yet that this was only the first shadow before the storm, that the truth would drag her through darkness deeper than she imagined, that she would stand face to face with secrets that ruin lives and save them, and that someone was already watching her from across the street, unseen eyes tracking her every step, because truth is not found, it is hunted. And she had just become the hunter. Morning felt different this time, heavy with a quiet danger, like the city woke up knowing secrets had been stirred, and someone did not like that. Elena stood by her window staring at the street below, people rushing to lives that did not notice the thin line between ordinary mornings and the beginning of nightmares. She pulled her coat tight, breathed and steady, because fear was real, but purpose was louder. She stepped outside and felt eyes on her, not imagination, not paranoia, a weight in the air that pressed against her spine. She turned slowly, saw nothing but walls, windows, and passing strangers, but still she knew danger does not show itself all at once. It tastes you first, circles, it watches you breathe, and waits for your weakest heartbeat. Elena walked to the precinct. The building always smelled like cold floors, and exhausted hope. Officers moved like worn machines, coffee in hand, files under arms, almost numb to tragedy, like hearts learned to harden to survive. She approached the desk, a young officer lifted tired eyes, voice dull, how can I help you? I have information about a missing girl, Mia Delaney. She vanished 4 days ago, possibly being followed. Threats, anonymous calls, suspicious behavior. I spoke to her workplace manager. He confirmed she reported fear before disappearing, a man in black hoodie following her for a week. The officer stared, blinked, eyes sharp. Suddenly, you are not family, are you? No. But that does not erase her existence, Elena replied, steady voice. I know what happens. Women go missing and cases go cold, and the file becomes dust, because no one pushed hard enough, and I am pushing. He said nothing for a moment, then typed slow, like weighing her sincerity. Another detective walked behind him, hearing, catching pieces, glanced at Elena, and paused. Elena Foster, he said, voice familiar, warm with recognition. She looked up, surprised. Detective Harris, from years ago, when she once filed a missing report on her mother, and he was a young officer who tried, but systems swallowed everything. You never stopped fighting, he said with a faint sadness, and pride mixed in, not for her and not for this girl, she replied. He motioned her to his office door, closing behind them. What do you know? She repeated, everything details falling like stones building a path. And Harris listened, jaw tightening, finally nodding slow. All right, I will enter this officially. But listen, if someone threatened you, take it seriously. The city can swallow people whole when they look into dark corners. I lived in darkness. Already, Elena whispered. I learned to walk inside it without losing myself. He believed her. He always did. He handed her his card. Call me if anything else happens, and I will watch out for you till you have a way of finding danger. Elena left the precinct, but as she stepped outside, a black car parked across the street, engine running, windows tinted. She could not see inside, but she felt it, eyes staring right through glass like someone measuring her threat level. She walked not fast, but controlled, turning a corner, but listening footsteps behind, soft, too soft, like someone trained to follow. Without sound, she veered into a small cafe, ducked inside, heart pounding, breath tight, looked through window, the street empty, no footsteps, no car, but the danger felt alive, invisible, like a breath on the back of her neck. She sat, ordered tea, hands shaking only slightly. The waitress, young eyes, kind, noticed. Are you okay? Just a long week, Elena whispered with a thin smile. Phone buzzed, unknown number again, her pulse spiked. She answered, slow silence, breathing faint, then a whisper, stop now while you still can, or they will bury you. Just like her, the line cut. She stared at phone screen reflection, trembling eyes, then she inhaled, deep, steady fire forming under the fear, because threats do not stop truth, they just prove it matters. As she walked out, someone bumped her shoulder, a man, tall, hood up, face down. She felt something slipped into her coat pocket, her hand shot to it, a folded note. She glanced up to find him, but he vanished, swallowed by crowds. She unfolded paper, messy, rushed, handwriting, underground club, Harbor District, asked bartender about silver rings. Do not trust anyone, time running out. She stared, breath caught, Harbor District was not safe, even daylight did not soften it. She knew stories, drugs, trafficking, lost girls, but she had no choice. When truth hides, you chase it to the edge. Night crept in, cold wind cutting, and she found herself outside a run-down bar, neon flickering, drunks laughing, rough voices, smoke in the air. She stepped inside, music heavy, two loud bodies, pressed walls, stained lights dim, like secrets breathing here. She went to bar, bartender looked up, rough voice, what do you need? Whiskey, courage, answer. She said calmly, I need to know what you know about silver rings. His expression froze, eyes tightening, muscles of jaw clenching, air shifted like tension cracked open around them. He leaned close, voice low, leave now. Do not say that name, here they own this block, and they see everything. Who are they? She whispered, not here, not safely. He glanced around, lowered voice, if you care about breathing, do not link yourself to them. They take girls, they move them, they silence anyone who looks too long. He wiped the counter, like gesture meant to distract anyone watching, then slipped a small matchbox to her hand. Go and burn this after reading. Her heart raced. She turned, but before she reached door, two men at back table stood, watching her, eyes sharp, predatory. She walked fast, door closing behind her, breath foggy, cold. She opened matchbox, inside a small folded paper, 3 initials SRN, a time 1 a.m., a warehouse address at docks, and one more line, if you see black Ben run. Her phone buzzed again, message, unknown, do not go there if you want to live, but Elena whispered to herself, sometimes you go because you want someone else to live. She returned home, early evening lights inside warm, but her chest cold. She checked locks twice, 3 times, sat at table, open notebook, wrote clues, names, times, connections, mind racing, mapping fragments into picture. A knock, sudden, sharp, her heart jumped. She grabbed kitchen knife, approached door. Who is it? She asked, strong voice, but fear underneath it. Is Harris? Open up. She unlocked, exhale, relief. He stepped in, looked serious. We got a lead, someone reported seeing a girl matching Mia near docks 3 nights ago. You were right, something is happening there. But listen, do not go alone, ever, especially near docks. She nodded, pretending agreement, while truth already burned inside her, because midnight came, and she would be there no matter the danger he left. And she sat in silence until clock struck 12. She put on dark clothes, tied hair, hid blade in pocket, left apartment quiet, shadow city street silent, like air holding its breath. She walked fast, every corner suspicious, every headlight suspicious, every sound amplified, fear crawling, but determination louder. Harbor air cold, cruel metal fences, rust, shipping containers stacked like tombs, moonlight slicing through cracks. She moved, careful, cautious, reached abandoned warehouse, broken window doors, chained except one slightly open. She slipped inside, heart drumming, thick darkness, smell of behind crates, eyes adjusting. And then she saw a girl tied chair, head down, bruised, hair long, dark, breathing shallow, men talking low. We move her tonight. If she speaks, police will sniff around again. This one was supposed to disappear like the others. Boss said loose. Ends get cut. Elena's throat closed, tears burning, but rage rising sharper than fear. She fumbled phone, trying to record proof, hands shaking. Suddenly, a metal pipe creaked under her foot, noise loud enough, head snapped toward sound. Her blood froze, a flashlight beam cut through, dark landing near her feet. Run, her mind screamed, but body heavy, fear anchoring. Then she forced breath, bolted door burst open behind containers, men yelling, chasing her. She ran, feet pounding, air slicing, adrenaline wild. She reached exit, doors slammed. She raced down alley, black, then turning corner, headlights hitting her hard. She gasped, ran faster, lungs burning, heart screaming, feet slamming pavement, then getting closer, then hands grabbed her shoulder. She swung, knife cut, air miss, grabbed again. She twisted, kicked, ran again, saw road, light, busy street ahead, safety inches away. And then a hand clamped over her mouth, another arm choking, pulled backward into dark. Her scream muffled, dragged behind crate's body, pinned, breath crushed, and a voice whispered, cold, deadly, curiosity kills faster than bullets. Her eyes wild, tears stinging, fight exploding inside, but grip iron crushing. Then suddenly footsteps, police siren distant, but close grip loosened, shadow vanished like smoke. She collapsed, gasping, ran toward street, stumbling, nearly falling. Police car screeched, stop, lights blinding. Harris jumped out, saw her bruised, terrified, grabbed her shoulders. What happened? Where were you? She tried to speak, breath shivering, voice trembling. They have her. Mia. Warehouse, inside, men vans. Rings code, trafficking night. Almost. She broke down, shaking, collapsing, knees weak. He held her, steady eyes, fierce anger, fire. I told you not to go alone, but you did good, you got evidence. But this is dangerous, more than anything we handled. Your life is in real danger. Now getting car now. As they drove away, she looked back, warehouse fading into dark, breathing jagged, and she whispered, not to Harris, but to herself, I am not done, I will not stop until every girl is free, or every monster is caged. And somewhere in shadow, across rooftops, a figure watched her leave, whispering into phone. She knows too much, act soon before she becomes a problem. Elena did not see him, but fear would follow her home that night like a shadow stitched to her bones. And she knew in that moment her fight had become war. The world outside never knew what happened last night. The city moved like nothing, broke like nobody, screamed in empty warehouses like monsters did not hide behind polished doors, and innocent girls did not vanish without echo. But Elena knew. She woke with bruises on her arms, trembling, breath, memory replaying in sharp flashes, dark figures, harsh whispers, running feet, headlights, fear clawing into her bones, yet fire still burned in her chest strong. Fierce, unshaken, she sat on her couch, hands wrapped around a steaming mug as morning light crept across the floor, thin and pale like hope learning to walk again. Her phone buzzed, Detective Harris again, voice firm, urgent, I need you at the precinct. Now, we made arrests last night, not the big ones, but men from the warehouse. Elena felt hope rise, then drop heavy. If we got them, why does your voice sound like bad news? Because they know you were there, and now they want to find you before you find more truth. She arrived at precinct, pushed through glass doors, smell of coffee and paper, and quiet dread, officers whispering, glancing at her, because word traveled and courage scares people when danger stands behind it. Harris motioned her into a room, papers, files, photographs on wall, young faces, missing posters, cold cases, cross lines like veins running through a heartbroken. Too long, look at these, he said, pointing. These are girls connected to this group, similar patterns. Some gone months, some years, we believe. You stumbled into an active trafficking ring operating across states, maybe bigger than city jurisdiction, federal eyes coming to watch now. Elena swallowed, sharp pain awareness heavy. She whispered, so Mia is not just a missing girl, she is part of something massive and dangerous, and someone powerful is behind it. Yes, Harris nodded slowly, and we have evidence, but not enough to find leaders yet. Your information helped us move quicker, but now we protect you. I am assigning you temporary police protection. You will not walk alone, you will not go near docks. Do you understand? Her jaw tightened. I understand, but I will not stop. He stared, grateful and scared for her, because courage has a cost, and he had seen too many people pay all of it. Officer Jenkins, a tall woman, stepped in, calm, sharp eyes. You are with me for now, she said, no nonsense tone. Elena followed her, but as they walked through station hallway, a man in suit brushed past, briefcase polished, too clean haircut, too controlled. He glanced at Elena, two long eyes, cold, polite smile, thin, something sinister beneath. She did not know him, but her body reacted, chill, crawling spine. Jenkins noticed him, too stiff posture, tension, silence. then man disappeared into office like shadow closing. Door behind him. Who is that? Elena whispered. Someone we pretend we trust, Jenkins murmured, voice low. Elena felt it again, like unseen danger tightening around her life, squeezing slowly. They arrived at her apartment building. Jenkins checked stairwell windows, corners, trained eyes. But when they reached Elena's door, the lock was slightly scratched, metal scraped fresh. Someone tried to enter. Elena's breath froze. Jenkins, stiffened, gun ready. Wait, here, she said, low tone, deadly. She pushed door slowly, moved inside, silent time, stretched breath, held then her voice called clear, but someone was here recently. Elena entered, heart pounding, her table moved, papers shifted, her notebook opened, pages that were closed before, and on the mirror written with red lipstick 3 words, stop asking questions. Her pulse hammered, fear lightning inside. She whispered, they were here in my home. How did they know where I live? Jenkins' jaw clenched. They watch more than we think. We need to move you. Safe house now, pack what you need, 5 minutes. Elena grabbed essentials, notebook, jacket, photo of her mother, old worn edges, memory. Heavy, her hand paused on framed fingers, shaking. Then she set it face down, not ready to look into eyes that mirrored her pain. They left apartment, moved quickly downstairs, but halfway voices echoed from front door, radio static. Someone outside. Jenkins froze, whispered back, exit now, go. They slipped through service hall, out metal door, into alley, cold wind slicing as they reached street. Jenkins radioed back up, but suddenly a black sedan rolled slowly, headlights off, tinted windows stopping, mid-block driver just watching, not moving. Elena felt breath choke, fear icy as Jenkins put hand on her back, moving, keep walking, do not look again. Car engine revved, slowly rolled away, not fast, not scared, confident like, saying we see you are never alone here. They got into squad car, drove to safe house, small apartment, secure building, high floor, metal reinforced door, camera system. Elena sat on couch, exhaustion crashing like waves, fear, aftershock, trembling hands. Jenkins sat across, calm, but jaw tight. You scared them, that means you did something right, but now they will push harder. Violence, silence, manipulation. We have power, money, eyes everywhere. We must be ahead always. Elena nodded, but whispered, I am not afraid. Jenkins looked at her, truly looked. Elena's eyes did not hold fear, they held fire, and wounds that never healed, and strength carved from surviving. She nodded, you remind me of me, she whispered. I lost someone once too. Someone the system forgot. Took me years to learn truth, and even longer to forgive myself. You are doing what most people cannot. You are stepping into darkness, willingly, that matters. Hours passed, quiet tension, thick. Elena stared out window, city, glowing, night beginning again, and somewhere out there Mia might still be breathing, scared, alone, waiting to be found. She whispered to window reflection, I will bring you home, even if I break doing it. Phone buzzed again, a message, image attachment. Her stomach dropped, twisted. She opened it, a photo of Mia, tied, chair bruised, crying, timestamp today, message beneath, last warning, stop, or she dies. Choice is yours. Heart shattered, rage ignited, tears filled, but rage drowned them. She whispered, you have no idea who you are threatening. She showed Jenkins, who cursed under breath, we move now. Harris will get this to cyber unit, maybe traceable, maybe not, but this is escalation. They are desperate. Elena's voice quiet, but still they will hurt her until they cannot breathe. I cannot sit here doing nothing. I will not. Jenkins met her eyes. You are not powerless. We plan, we strike, smart, not emotional. If we rush, she dies. She dies, we lose everything. Later night, deep, quiet, safe house. Still Elena could not sleep. Every time she closed eyes, she saw Mia tied, crying, saw her mother fading into dark. She sat up, walked to window, city, far lights blinking like stars fall into earth. Then a sound, faint tapping on window, not loud, but real. She turned, breath sharp, heart racing, slowly approached, curtains, heavy silence. Then she pulled them open. No one there, but taped to outside glass, a small object, a silver ring hanging by thread, swaying in night air. Silver ring, symbol, the bartender. Mention her blood, ran cold, the message. Clear, they know where she is. Even here, she yanked blinds, shut, locked windows, double checked every door, heart slamming. Then phone buzzed again, private number this time, voice calm, smooth, not distorted. You are brave, Elena Foster, but bravery does not save everyone. Sometimes it buries them like it buried your mother. Her vision blurred, body shook, fury and horror mixing. She tried to speak, but voice stuck, breath gone, call ended, silence deafening. She collapsed to floor, knees catching carpet, tears falling, first time not from fear but from memory reopened, wound deep, raw. Mom, where did you go? Why did no one save you? Why did I grow up learning to fight shadows alone? She let herself break for 1 minute, only one. Then she wiped tears, stood, and whispered, I will not lose another soul. I will not be a child abandoned by justice again. More morning light, pale gray Jenkins walked out bedroom coffee in hand, saw Elena's calm face, and understood storms moved inside her, but she was still standing stronger and more dangerous than before. Jenkins sat beside her. We make a plan today, she said. Federal task force coming. They want files, names, warehouse location, everything. Your info triggered official investigation. You changed case status from overlooked to active threat. That means we have allies. Now invisible ones breathing down criminals. Next, Elena closed notebook, then opened it again, writing list, clues, messages, faces, timeline, her hand steady, purpose rising like dawn, stronger than shadows. But her mind whispered, if they reach safe house, once they can again trust no safety, do not rest yet. Later they left for secure federal meeting, priest-like seriousness, building guarded elevators, scanning ID. But as doors closed, someone inside elevator stood still, too still, seat, expensive eyes, cold, same man from precinct, polite smile, hiding poison. Jenkins moved subtly between him and Elena, tension thick. He spoke, soft voice, silk coated with threat. We admire persistence, Miss Foster, but persistence turns foolish when you pierce walls far above your reach. Walk away and heal your life. Do not trade it for ghosts. Elena stared, not blinking. What ghosts do you think I am chasing, sir? He smiled, then nothing warm, only the ones powerful enough to erase memories and people without a trace. Elevator ding. He stepped out, shoes silent, floor polished, too clean, feeling of danger following him like smoke. Jenkins whispered, he smells like power and rot, stay away. Meeting room, agents, files, maps, routes, images of docs, fans, leaders, unknown faces, blurred lines of syndicate, whispered, criminal empire, female victims, disappear, move across coasts, network, deep protected. Elena listened, absorbing every detail, then spoke, voice steady, I have more leads, and I am willing to go undercover if needed. Harris choked, no, absolutely not. Elena, you almost died last night. Elena met his eyes softly, if dying is the price to save her, then I would pay it. Harris slammed fist, table knocked. Again, I will not watch you sacrifice, because system failed you once. This time system fights with you, not against you. But system is slow, Elena whispered, quiet, heavy heart, knows urgency. Fear not for herself, but for me as hours ticking like countdown to tragedy. She left room, briefly breathing in hallway, when a woman approached, mid-30s, tired eyes, holding folder. She whispered, they got one of my cases too, my girl gone year, and I never found her. Listening to you gave me hope for first time. Thank you for not stopping. Elena touched her hand, gently, strength passing. Invisible, but real, you are not alone. We will bring them home, all of them. That promise settled like vow signed in spirit, but vows attract storms. And outside, building across street, a man in black hoodie watched her face, expression unreadable, dialing phone, soft voice said, she is becoming a problem, boss. Answer, cold, ruthless, then remove her quietly. We cannot afford her. Inspiration. Elena did not hear death sentence spoken, but she felt danger swelling like dark tide ready to break. She walked back inside, not knowing war was drawing closer, steps echoing, fate shaking, lines drawn in dark and bright, and somewhere Mia waited, still breathing, still praying someone was coming. And Elena was coming. There are moments in life when silence is not quiet at all, but loud like a storm, and Emma sat in that silence, staring at the board with photos of missing girls and mothers and daughters whose futures were stolen by someone who walked freely among everyone, breathing the same air, pretending to be ordinary, while hiding a darkness inside. And her chest tightened, because she could feel the weight of every face, looking back like ghosts begging for truth. And she whispered softly, I swear I will not fail you, not again, not ever. Detective Harris nodded at her and said quietly, I believe you will crack this, but sometimes justice moves slow and patience is part of the job. But Emma felt a fire inside her, no patience, no rest, not when lives were being destroyed. And she stared at the photo of Rachel and felt guilt like a knife twisting, because she had survived, but Rachel had not. And deep inside, she hated how unfair the world could be, how fate picked victims and left others somehow alive but wounded forever. Hours passed like minutes as she traced maps, phone towers, bus stop timings, and CCTV routes, looking for the woman named Sarah who once had a life but vanished from it. And there on a bus terminal camera was a fragile silhouette with a hoodie pulled down and a small tremor in her posture, like someone running not from danger, but from memories that still chased her in every shadow. And Emma leaned closer, pausing the frame, noticing her fingers shaking as she held her bag tight like a carry. Something precious, maybe a photo, maybe a hope, and Emma whispered, there you are, please let me find you. Night fell, but her not stop, and she returned home drained yet determined. And when she opened the door, her son looked up from the kitchen table drawing superheroes, and he said, "Mommy, are you saving someone again?" And Emma felt something break and heal at the same time because, yes, she was trying to save someone, and yes, she was still scared every day. And she knelt beside him, holding his tiny hand, and said softly, "I'm trying, baby." And he nodded with the innocent certainty of children who believe their parents hold magic and can fix the world. She tucked him in later that night and stared at his peaceful face, wishing trauma never touched people, especially children, and she whispered, "Thank you for being my reason to keep breathing." Sleep didn't come easy because nightmares still visited like unwelcome guests, and she woke at 3 a.m. with her pulse racing after seeing Rachel calling her across some river in her dream, whispering, "Help me." And Emma sat up trembling, wiping sweat from her forehead, reminding herself, "You made it out, you are safe, you are here." But safety always felt temporary, like glass that could break anytime. She went back to work in the morning, gripping coffee like a lifeline, and Detective Harris greeted her with a nod and a tired smile and handed her new files, saying, "We found additional footage from a gas station the night Sarah disappeared." They watched the grainy clip together, and there was Sarah again, hesitant, stepping backward as a man approached her, trying to talk, his smile friendly, but something predatory in his eyes, the way his body leaned too close too fast. And Emma felt her stomach clench. That behavior, she knew it too well. The polite predator, the charming danger, the kind of evil that wore a human mask and preyed on vulnerability like it was an open invitation. "Who is he?" she whispered, and they zoomed in, but his face was turned just enough to blur the features, and frustration burned like acid in her throat. But then she noticed something small but unmistakable, a bracelet on his wrist, silver dark band engraved with initials LM, and she froze because memory hit her like thunder. She had seen that bracelet years ago on a case involving a bar worker who vanished, but the suspect was never proven guilty. He had slipped through cracks like a snake made of smoke, and her heart started pounding harder. This man might be hunting again, might never have stopped. She dug up the old records, and there it was, a name, Luke Martin, a charming volunteer counselor who once claimed to help troubled women, but whose name floated around, whispers and rumors of manipulation, coercion, and sudden disappearances, but nothing concrete enough to arrest him. And Emma clenched her jaw, feeling rage rising like fire in her bones. This time, she would not let him vanish into shadows. Hours turned into a restless hunt. She traced his known locations, social media presence, old colleagues, and a chilling pattern surfaced. He always appeared near shelters, near bus terminals, near support groups, offering help like a savior, but leaving destruction behind. And Emma felt sick because predators who hunt wounded souls are the cruelest kind. They do not just harm bodies, they break spirits that are already struggling to heal. Detective Harris watched her silently and said, "Emma, when we find him, we follow protocol. We do this clean, no risks." And she nodded, but a storm was inside her because she remembered being cornered once by a man who smiled like a friend and spoke softly while holding violence behind his teeth. And she remembered how Rachel had screamed, and Emma shook her head, fighting the haunting echo inside her. By evening, they had a possible lead. Luke was renting a basement apartment in an old neighborhood where streetlights flickered like tired eyes, and Emma's pulse kicked into overdrive when she saw the location, because survivors learned to read danger the way sailors read storms. You feel it in the air in your bones. And something whispered to her, "Come carefully, because darkness lives here." They approached quietly, police back up a few blocks away just in case, and Emma's breath fogged in the cold night as she stepped forward, knocking gently, pretending to be harmless, and harmless is what predators underestimate. A slow shuffle sound inside. Then the door cracked open, and there he stood, polite eyes, soft smile of fake warmth like sugar-coating poison. And he said, "Can I help you?" And Emma's world paused. He looked ordinary, like a neighbor, like someone blending into life unnoticed. But monsters rarely look like monsters. "Hi," she said calmly. "I'm looking for someone. I think you might have seen her." And she held out Sarah's photo. His pupils tightened just slightly, but enough for her trained eyes to see the mask slip 1 millimeter. And he said, "No, sorry, never seen her." Voice too smooth, too practiced, and Emma felt her heart thump like a drum of warning. She thanked him and stepped away slowly, but her instinct screamed louder than sirens. Something is behind that door, something not right, something breathing in that darkness, waiting. They returned later with a search warrant, because sometimes justice requires patience, even if your blood wants war. And inside the apartment, they found a small notebook hidden under floorboards. Name, states, symbols, sorrow disguised as ink, and Sarah's name was there with others. And Emma felt her knees weaken, because this notebook held hope should never be a desperate whisper. Hope should be a right of truth, not something people beg to have. A sound came from another locked room, a soft, trembling breath. They forced the door open, and inside was a scared woman curled in fear. Not Sarah, but someone else. Another life saved inches before shattering. And Emma knelt slowly, talking gently, like mending a frightened bird, saying, "You're safe now, you are safe, you are not alone." And the woman sobbed, clinging to Emma like life itself. Luke was arrested, his mask shattered, handcuffs replacing charm. And as he was let out, he stared at Emma, a cold, knowing look, like he recognized something in her too. Maybe the survivor fire, maybe the stubborn refusal to break. And he whispered quietly, "You survived once, but not everyone does." And Emma stared back, unflinching, because strength is not loud, it is silent steel forged in pain. And she whispered back, "Not anymore, not while I breathe." And his expression changed from arrogance to fear, because he saw certainty in her eyes, and predators fear women who rise. Later in the station, Emma collapsed into a chair, trembling not from fear, but the surge of release, the weight of battle lifting off her shoulders. And she whispered, "Rachel, I hope you see this, I hope you know I kept going for you." And the room felt warmer, like the souls she fought for were standing with her proud, unbroken. Detective Harris placed a gentle hand on her shoulder and said, "You did it this time, you saved someone, and maybe justice finally caught one of them, because of you." And she nodded, but tears came anyway, tears not of weakness, but of memory, of survival, of victory that tasted like salt and sunlight all mixed together. She went home past midnight, the world quiet and stars steady like witnesses. And when she opened the door, her son woke up, rubbing his eyes, running to her arms, and he whispered, "Mommy, you came back." And she hugged him tight, breathing in his innocence, holding on to the reality that she was here alive, safe with him. And she whispered, "Always, always, I will always come back." But she didn't sleep that night. She sat by the window watching dawn rise, thinking of Sarah still missing somewhere. And she whispered softly, "I will find you too, I promise." And she meant it, because once you have survived hell, you don't leave others behind in the fire. Her phone buzzed early morning, and Detective Harris said quietly, "We might have a location for Sarah." And Emma closed her eyes, letting the sun warm her face. As a mix of fear and hope swirled inside, she stood up steady, ready, willing, because justice isn't a job to her, it is a vow etched into her soul. She walked out the door again, knowing battles were not over, but she was not afraid anymore. She had purpose, she had strength, she had faith made from scars. And she whispered, "I am coming, Sarah, hold on." Morning sunlight broke through clouds like a quiet promise, but Emma felt the heaviness of another storm forming inside her chest, because every step now held the weight of a life she had not yet saved. And when she walked into the station, she saw the urgency in Detective Harris's face, and she knew this was not a routine update. This was the kind of moment where fate holds its breath and waits to see who moves first, the world or the woman determined to change it. Harris spoke quietly, eyes firm. "We traced his old contacts, and someone finally talked. We think Sarah was taken to an abandoned property outside town, maybe held there before he moved her somewhere else." And Emma's breath caught in her throat. Abandoned property. Those two words felt like a ghost reaching into her spine, because abandoned places hold echoes of pain and memory of all things left behind. And she whispered softly, "We go now?" And Harris nodded, grabbing keys as officers mobilized with sharp movements like a tide rising fast. The drive was long through forests and quiet roads, with wind whispering through branches like forgotten prayers. And Emma stared out the window, heart beating a strange rhythm, half fear, half hope, because this might be the moment life changed again, either toward closure or toward another wound carved into her soul. And she whispered inside, "Please be alive, please hold on a little longer." And she remembered her own moments, trapped in fear, her breath shallow, her heartbeat low, footsteps running inside her ribs. And she felt that same cold feeling spreading through her again, but she pushed it away, breathing slow, because this time she was not the hunted, she was the one coming for the darkness. They reached a remote, broken farmhouse surrounded by silence and tired wooden walls that once knew family's laughter, but now held secrets and shadows. And as soon as they stepped out, Emma felt it, that instinct. Survivors developed, the air felt wrong, too still, too heavy, and her pulse tightened. Officers moved quietly, guns drawn, scanning every corner, and Emma followed, slow breath, steady eyes sharp. And there by the barn, she saw a small piece of fabric stuck to a splinter, pale pink, trembling in the wind, and her chest ached, because pink is the color hope chooses when it hasn't given up yet. Harris pushed open the barn door slowly, and the creak echoed like a scream in emptiness, dust floating like ghosts, and inside were chains on the floor, old rope, a broken chair, and Emma's stomach twisted because this room had held suffering, not dreams, and she stepped forward, gently touching the rope, feeling the cold roughness, like the past touching her skin again. Then they heard it, a soft whimper, not loud, but real, fragile, like a wounded bird breathing, and Emma froze, eyes widening as hope rushed, fierce and painful. She followed the sound to a small storage space in the back, heart pounding louder with each step, and she whispered, "Please let it be her, please let her live." And she pulled open the old door, and there in dim light, curled, small, trembling, thin eyes wide with terror, was Sarah, alive, eyes deep with fear and exhaustion, hair messy, body fragile like a candle flame trying to stay lit in a storm. Emma knelt slowly, tears blurring her vision, and whispered softly, "Sarah, it's okay, you are safe now, you are not alone anymore." And Sarah stared at her, silent, trembling, like she could not believe safety existed. And then she sobbed, collapsing into Emma's arms, gripping her like a life rope, like someone who had been drowning too long. Emma held her close, whispering gentle, steady words, "You are safe now, I promise you are safe." And Sarah clung harder, whispering broken, "I thought I would die, I thought nobody would come." And Emma's heart cracked, because she knew that feeling too well, that moment when hope feels like a story meant for others, not you. And she whispered, "I came, I will always come for women like you, I will never let darkness win again." Officers rushed forward, gently lifting Sarah, offering blankets, warm water, safety, but her hand did not leave Emma's, as if letting go meant losing protection, and Emma stayed, holding her until her shaking eased into quiet, soft breaths of someone beginning to believe they might survive. The ambulance took Sarah, but Emma stayed a moment longer, standing in that barn, staring at the empty shadows where pain once lived, and she whispered to the air, "This ends here, no more victims, not while I am here, not while I breathe." And wind moved softly, like the world agreeing, like something bigger than her, acknowledging her fight. Back at the station, she sat beside Sarah in a quiet room while she gave her statement, voice weak but determined, and every word was a thread reconnecting her to life, to strength, to truth. And Adam, her son, arrived later, hugging Emma tightly, burying his face in her shoulder, whispering, "Mommy, I missed you." And Emma kissed his hair, whispering, "I'm here, baby, I'm here, and I came back again, and again, I always will." But night did not bring peace, trauma never sleeps. And as she sat alone later, Sarah's voice echoed in her memory, her fear, her trembling, her relief. And Emma felt tears slip silently, because survival is not a finish line, it is a road with many ghosts, and every rescued woman carries all the ones who never made it. And she whispered, "Rachel, we did it, we found her, we saved her." And somewhere in the quiet, she felt warmth, like a soul resting, finally proud. Weeks passed, news spread, Sarah recovering slowly, smiling again, learning to breathe again, to live again. And Emma visited, often holding her hand, sharing quiet strength to survivors, two warriors who understood pain like a language and healing like a rebellion. Luke Martin's trial began soon, and Emma sat in court watching him, now exposed, stripped of charm, his mask shattered forever. And Sarah testified, voice shaking but steady, a heroine in her own right. And Emma felt pride swell, because surviving is not weakness, it is power forged in fire. And when verdict came guilty on all counts, the courtroom exhaled relief, and Sarah cried, and Emma held her, whispering, "You did it, you rose, you survived." And judges' words sounded like thunder, but also like music justice, singing slowly but surely. People praised Emma, called her brave, strong, unstoppable. But at night, when lights were low and house quiet, she still battled memories, nightmares that visited uninvited. But she faced them with new strength, because every life she saved stitched her soul back piece by piece. And she whispered to herself softly, "You are not broken, you are still here, you will keep going." She took her son to the park next Sunday, laughing, watching him run, sunlight dancing around him, innocence pure and free. And she closed her eyes, breathing fresh air, letting peace settle in her bones. Because healing is not loud, it is quiet, small moments where heart feels safe again. And she whispered, "Thank you, life, thank you for letting me rise." Days turned to months, and Emma continued her work, fighting for those still lost, living with scars, but also with purpose and hope, the kind built not on fantasy, but on real battles and real victories. And when she walked into shelters, women looked at her with eyes full of belief, not because she saved everyone, but because she tried, because she refused to look away, because she was one of them. And yet, here standing strong, proving survival is not just possible, it is powerful. Late one evening, sitting with a cup of tea, lights, soft calm around her, she received a message from Sarah a photo of her smiling, holding a new job card, working at a support center, helping other women like her, and the message read, "You saved me, and now I will save others." And Emma wiped her tears, smiling, because hope is contagious and strength grows when shared. Life moved forward, not perfectly, but beautifully, and Emma stood at her window watching sunset, turning sky gold, whispering, "I survived, I became more than my pain, and I promised to protect others, and I kept that promise." And she felt peace, the kind that comes after storms, after battles, after rising again and again. And somewhere deep inside, she knew this war would never fully end, darkness would always exist, but so would she and women like her, strong, determined, forged in fire, refusing to fall. And she whispered softly, "Tomorrow I fight again, because the world changes one life at a time, and I will keep going until every woman finds safety, every heart finds peace, every survivor feels seen, heard, believed." She sat in the dark that night, the sound of rain hitting the old tin roof, mixing with the muffled cries that she tried so hard to silence inside her chest. A woman who once dreamed of saving lives, now trying to save her own. Her name was Emily Carter, 40 years old, and trapped in a house that no longer felt like home. The bruises on her arms had faded, but the ones on her heart were carved deep. She remembered the girl she used to be, a bright student, full of ambition, who once stayed up late reading books about human anatomy and dreaming of becoming a doctor. But life had taken her on a different road. She met a man at 23, charming, confident, full of promises, who told her she could do anything, but slowly turned those words into weapons that broke her spirit. Piece by piece, the first time he shouted, she forgave him. The second time, she blamed herself. By the fifth time, she stopped recognizing the face in the mirror. Years passed like slow-moving smoke, filling every corner of her life, until she could no longer breathe. One winter night, after another violent argument, she sat at the kitchen table, shaking and numb, and looked at the photo of her two children sleeping peacefully in their beds. She realized the truth. She was not staying for them. She was teaching them that pain was normal, and that love came with fear. That realization struck her harder than any slap ever had. She knew she had to leave, so she waited until he went to work the next morning, packed a small bag, slipped her wedding ring into a drawer, and walked out the door, her hands trembling as she turned the key for the last time. The wind on her face felt like the first breath she had taken in years. She moved into a shelter for women where the air smelled of disinfectant and sorrow, yet there was also a strange, quiet strength there. Other women carrying their own stories, each of them broken yet breathing. She listened to their laughter in the evenings, faint but defiant, and it gave her courage. She got a small job at a diner, cleaning tables, smiling at strangers, pretending everything was okay. But every night when she closed her eyes, she saw a different life calling to her, a life she once dreamed of but never believed she could have anymore. One afternoon, an elderly nurse came into the diner for coffee and dropped her badge on the counter. Emily picked it up and saw the word hospital shining under the fluorescent lights. Something inside her stirred. The nurse smiled and said, "You have kind eyes, you'd make a good nurse someday," and walked away. Without knowing, she had just ignited a flame that had been sleeping in ashes. That night, Emily sat awake in her small apartment, staring at the ceiling, whispering to herself, "I could still do it. Couldn't I? 40 years old, 2 kids, tired, broke, and terrified, but maybe it wasn't too late." She started researching community colleges on an old laptop borrowed from the shelter, her fingers trembling as she typed application forms while her children slept beside her. The day she got her acceptance letter, she cried, not because she was happy, but because she was afraid she might fail again, afraid people would laugh at a woman her age sitting in class with teenagers. But when she looked at her daughter drawing on the floor, she realized failure would be not trying. She took her first step onto the college campus with a backpack filled with secondhand books and hope she hadn't felt in decades. At first, everything felt impossible: biology lectures, chemistry equations, late-night study sessions. She worked at the diner all day, then studied. After putting her children to bed, her eyes stung from exhaustion. But there was a quiet fire inside her that kept burning. Whenever doubt crept in, she would whisper, "I survived worse than this." Professors noticed her determination. One of them, a soft-spoken man named Dr. Harris, asked about her story. She hesitated, but eventually told him the truth instead of pity. He gave her respect. He said, "Sometimes people who go through fire come out understanding life better than anyone else's." Words stayed with her like armor. There were moments when her ex found her number and called, shouting threats, telling her she'd never make it, she'd end up nothing but a failure again. She would hang up trembling, but the fear Fear no longer controlled her, it fueled her. She kept moving forward, passing one exam at a time, finding friends among younger students who admired her courage. Some called her mom affectionately. She laughed more often than she cried now. When her first year ended, she pinned her report card